Have you ever wanted to experience what it's like to see into the future? Well, welcome to Arkham City, which has been walled off to the general public. It is now home to some of the worst criminals known to man, and it's sponsored by Mr. Beast. And because of this partnership, it ensures that the menaces to society in this prison are going to suffer and the only options they're given for food is Feastables made by non-slave labor and 5-year-old Mr. Beast Burger. Now, because we're Batman and we're heading into Arkham City, we will leave no stone unturned, no asshole not spread open, and no lead left unchecked. All on the game's hardest difficulty, without taking damage. Will the Ra's al Ghul fight give me severe brain damage? Will Joker's Funhouse make me want to tighten a vice grip around my officer balls? Or will the 3 Catwoman sections in this entire game cause me so much trouble that I end up seriously considering quitting YouTube and taking up a career throat singing in the mountains of Kazakhstan? So why don't you grab 2 balls of yarn and a caulk gun, sit back, hit that subscribe button, and enjoy. Welcome to Arkham City, which is basically just a Palantir prison camp. Now, the game starts off with us getting thrown into prison, and what's basically just a Call of Duty cutscene. Now, as soon as we make it into Arkham City, we meet Hugo Strange, who's basically just Peter Thiel. And after he's seen the shit that we've been posting online, he decided to imprison us. So after we get into Arkham City, we immediately get jumped by the Penguin, and we have our first real combat section of the entire game. The problem is that the save checkpoint is right before you meet Penguin. So every time I did it, I had to listen to Penguin talk over and over and over again. So after about 8 resets, we're finally able to actually play the game. So we head up onto the rooftop and we switch over to playing as Batman. Now, I don't know what happened to Bruce Wayne, but so we head over to the courthouse to go find out what the fuck is going on here. And once we get into the courthouse, we find out that Two-Face is performing a trial, Uncle Ruckus style, on Catwoman. Now, because we're a morally upstanding citizen, we go ahead and try and save her. And after 7 resets, we're able to get through it. But right as we're about to ask Catwoman some questions about what the fuck she's doing here instead of being in Fortnite, she ends up getting shot at. But luckily, the shot misses. And Batman, using his superior detective skills, figures out that this was in fact a reincarnation of John Wilkes Booth, because only a complete and utter fraud could miss that shot. So after we head over to the church to go find out who shot that shot, we head in there just to end up beating up Harley Quinn. Now after we do a quick stealth tutorial, we go ahead and go to the top of the church to figure out what's going on. But it turns out there's a bomb up there. So after we escape, we gotta go punch Joker in the face, because putting a bomb there was kind of a dick move. So we go over to go punch Joker in the face. And after we head into the steel mill and get through the first stealth section of the game without any resets, because I'm in fact goated at this game, we finally go up to go see the Joker. But before we can meet him, we gotta do a small fighting section with our first hammer enemy of the game. And after 14 resets, I finally discovered the strategy of running away like a little stupid bitch. So after we go up to go finally see Joker, it turns out that he waited so long for my next video, he ended up dying. And this turns out to be horrible news for Batman, because now that Joker is gone, he has to fill his time with other things. So he decides to become a full-time W spammer in Kai Cenat's chat. But it turns out that Joker's not dead, and he ends up gassing Batman. And this is incredibly bad for Batman. Then, Batman meets his mortal enemy, an actual bat. And we get knocked out. So after Batman decides to take a nap, we take over Catwoman. And we gotta go steal something. But in order to do it, we need to go talk to Poison Ivy first. But once we get over to go talk to her, she quickly tells us to fuck off, because of one time I broke a tree branch because I was too fat, okay? But is that really my fault, though? So she tries to beat us up in a section that I can only describe as fucking terrible. Mainly because there's no room to dodge, and once you get to the final section, I kept dying to the stupid plant gun things. Now, the only way to make sure you get past these is just to listen for the audio cue for when the plants are about to shoot, and then try and frantically dodge out of the way. Now, because this game was made in 2011, it's not exactly the most responsive thing in the world. But, like a wise man once said... So anyways, after 78 resets and a lobotomy, I am now forced to quit doing challenge videos and start making all my money exclusively from shitcoin and TikTok lives. So anyways, we cut back to Batman Family Guy style and find out that the Joker apparently has AIDS. And he says he got it from Officer Balls. And he decides to give that AIDS to Batman. And after you get pushed out a window, Batman's gotta go find a way to cure himself. So yes, the plot of this game is a rich guy getting AIDS and searching for the cure. I wonder where I heard that one from. So anyways, after Bill Gates heads over to the GCPD to go find Mr. Freeze, we get there and it turns out that the feds, I mean Penguin, actually have him. So we have to head over to the museum to go get him back. And after getting rid of a couple jammers, we finally headed in the museum. But we end up running into Officer Cock, and he tells us that he needs help rescuing his friends. So we head into the next room, only to get ambushed by a Titan thug, which is basically just low tier God after you remind him to pay child support to his daughter. And these things exist simply just to make my life worse. But after 7 resets, we get through it. But Penguin manages to escape. And we head into the next room, only to find all the officers frozen on ice. But the only way to get to them is to spend 30 billion hours of my life walking across this stupid, shitty ice. But after we rescue all the cops, we eventually find Mr. Freeze. But unfortunately for me, I run into another hammer enemy. And instead of running away, I get a hammer shoved up my ass. 17 times. So after applying a minor amount of hemorrhoid cream, we're finally able to talk to Mr. Freeze. And we find out that the Penguin stole Mr. Freeze's suit and his J's. So after a quick stealth section that I definitely did not screw up, we're able to grab Freeze's suit and confront Penguin. But we get tricked by Penguin, and now we have to fight Solomon Grundy. You know how the rhyme goes? Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, fuck me on a Tuesday, shit on my mouth on a Wednesday. So anyways, after we fall into the cesspit known as Dubai, we end up fighting Solomon Grundy. And let me just say, this fight is stupid mega dummy easy. The problem is that I got through the first phase with only 2 resets. But on the second phase, the game decided to bend over and shit itself. And it would only spawn me in these weird ass places where I couldn't avoid taking damage. But that only happened about 1/3 of the time. So this ended up taking much longer than it was supposed to, because I kept getting thrown into a wall. So after we beat Grundy, we go ahead and punch the Penguin in the face. So after a quick stroll back to Mr. Freeze, we go talk to him about the cure. And he says it's not possible to make one because we need a special kind of blood. Blood that we can only get from the legendary lizard dweller himself, Mark Zuckerberg. So we have to go find him, but we have no clue where on earth he is. But we catch a lucky break, and we're able to find a member of the League of Assassins. And while we're in the process of tracking them back to their hideout, we meet up with Dick. Dick, you know, who's Robin, right? And Robin says that we don't look very good. So we show Robin the 4-in-1 concealer that we use while stunting on 9-year-olds playing Fortnite Roblox. And after we follow the assassin to the basement, we're able to find the entrance to his lair. But the only way to get in is to use the secret password, which I definitely didn't fail on the first try. So after we meet Ra's al Ghul, he offered us the secret to infinite life, which Batman says no to because he was born at just the right time to invade the Middle East. But we at least take him up on his offer to drink Mountain Dew Baja Blast. But the problem with Baja Blast is the only way to get it is to eat Taco Bell. So after violently shitting my pants, we end up fighting Ra's al Ghul. This fight though is dummy easy, because you can pretty much just sit in the back and fire remote electrical charges, and the only thing you have to worry about is just dodging his big attacks. And for the most part, this fight is really easy because there's so many phases, so you can fuck up as many times as you'd like and you still have checkpoints. So after giving him erotic shock therapy, we end up with his DNA, and we head back to the surface. But on our way up, we have to fight this encounter in the subway tunnels. And because I kept missing the counter button, it took me a whopping 30 resets, which is 7 more than it took me to do the Ra's al Ghul boss fight. Because of course, this game is awesome. Once we head up to the GCPD, we give Mr. Freeze the blood, and he can finally make our cure. But once he finally makes it, he doesn't want to give it to us. So Batman does what he does best. He starts cranking 90s on him. Now, the gimmick with this fight is that you can't damage Mr. Freeze the same way twice. The problem is on hard mode, you have to hit him a lot more ways than you normally would. And this took me a while, mainly because I spent a lot of time running around in circles like an idiot. So after engaging our inner Cypher PK, we're able to beat Mr. Freeze. But when we finally go get the cure, we find out it was actually stolen from us by Harley Quinn. So we run to go get it back. So once we head over to the steel mill and find the Jonkler, we deal with one of the easiest stealth sections in the entire game. Because at this point, you have enough gadgets to destabilize France. It's really not that hard. So after bonking some random idiot on the head, we head in to go find the Joker alive and well. And we go beat him up. The problem is that it's absolutely over. And what I mean is that this section is straight up impossible. Why? I have absolutely no idea. Trust me, I tried for 6 hours just to get through this one section. It is absolutely impossible. I mean, I tried literally everything from speedrun tips to see if there were any skips I could do to completely avoid this section, or different tactics or gadgets, or even turning my PC into an air fryer. And none of it worked. It just kept ending with me getting bent over and having my sphincter turned into not a sphincter. So yeah, sorry to disappoint. You know, we'll get him next time. Is what you fucking thought, you idiot! Do you really think that I am that big of a shitter that I would not be able to beat this, huh? Well, guess fucking what? I did, huh? You know why? Because I'm the best player to ever touch this game. Straight up, no bullshit, best player ever! So anyways, after we diddle the Joker, we get blown up and we switch right back over to Catwoman, where we have to do a really easy stealth section. I wish that was me! And after we finish it, we beat the game. But instead of making the same unfunny joke twice, we're just gonna move right back to Batman. So while we're taking over Batman, the entirety of Arkham City explodes because some random criminals stumbled upon some oil, and the United States government is going to give us 919 billion reasons why we should give it up. So after swinging around Arkham City, we're finally able to make it to Wonder Tower. And Hugo Strange tries to rage bait me by telling me that Family Guy vs. American Dad Kung Fu 1 is better than Family Guy vs. American Dad Kung Fu 2 Turbo. So we decide to give his guards a nice punch to the face, and after a modest 15 resets and a quick stealth section, we finally head up to Wonder Tower. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the biggest thing I struggled with was dealing with fighting the guys by the elevator, because the final stealth section in this entire game is a complete and utter joke. I mean, I pretty much just sat in one corner and dealt with all the guards in just that one spot. So once we walk up and finally confront Strange, we scare him by making him look at Toronto TikTok compilations. But while we're doing that, Ra's al Ghul comes in and tells us he's been funding the whole operation the entire time. And this information shocked me, almost as much as the time when I was 6 years old, and my mom told me that the sun would explode in a ripe 5 billion years. I was never the same after that day. So after Ra's al Ghul tells Strange he's disappointed in him, he explodes with embarrassment. And once we flop on the ground, Joker gives us a call and tells us to come get Batman's totally real girlfriend from Canada. So after we take care of the snipers outside and genuinely put them to sleep because it's past their bedtime, we head inside just to realize we were kerfuffled. And it turns out that Joker is actually still sick with AIDS, and we're actually fighting Clayface. And this fight for the most part is really simple. All you gotta do is just run into the explosives and panic press the spacebar whenever he does any other attack except his ball rolling one. And after just 2 explosions, the first phase is over. Now, on the second phase, you're fighting with a sword, and it's much more difficult, but it's still not hard either. All you have to do is just bait out his mud attacks, and once you do, just throw an ice grenade in his mouth, and just repeat that 4 times, and the game's over. So after we take out Clayface, we're finally able to cure ourselves. But Joker wants his cure, but he ends up attacking us and we drop it on the ground. And this causes the Joker to die from AIDS. And the game ends with Batman walking out, dumping a poor diseased man onto a car without any help, and just leaving. Are we really sure Batman isn't a menace to society? And the credits roll. And no, I'm not doing the Catwoman section at the end. You see the credits? The game's over. It's called Batman Arkham City, not Catwoman's Thighs Arkham City. Alright, that's gonna do it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time, where I hopefully find new games to play.